Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's ZoomCast. We've got with us a guy who's so talented, it's unbelievable. Not only is he a musician, a songwriter, a singer, a producer, a big game hunter, of course, otherwise he wouldn't be on this show, a bird hunting maniac, and he's the host of the hit TV show and outdoor channel, Nick's Wild Ride. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Nick Hoffman. Woo!
Yay! That's literally it takes a lot to make me blush, but my Minnesota humbleness comes in right there. I just kind of want to just crawl off the screen.
Hey, you got to be. If you don't talk about yourself, nobody else will. So,
well, you would know.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the show, though. We've been dying to have you on. And I know you've been running all over the place trying to get stuff done. And this whole COVID thing, talk about goofing up a guy's TV schedule, huh?
Talking about goofing up my whole life, because between the TV schedule and my hunt schedule, and then, of course, the music business is just completely it's not even in the tank. It's gone. I mean, with the exception, of course, streaming and people buying music and listening to music, the live industry is gone. And that's where most musicians, big and small, make their money is off of touring. So, in the course of like 3 or 4 days in March, my wife, who's also an artist and a singer and a songwriter, and I every ounce of touring or shows or anything that we had, they didn't get rescheduled. They just went away. They're just gone. And so that's echoed through the entire industry. So, man, yeah, between, a couple of, we can talk about it later, but I mean, some of my dream hunts this year just completely canceled, and then trying to film TV episodes and trying to find creative ways to do that without, spreading the COVID around, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's been crazy. Nuts.
It's a little hard to host a TV show with a mask on.
It is indeed. Yeah, you're trying to find places that, people are willing to have people come from the outside in and vice versa. Look, I'm trying really hard to do the best I can to not get this thing, just like everybody else. So it's like, I don't want to just run to somebody who's been, licking fence posts and not fence posts, probably like convenience store counters or anything like that. So I'm trying really hard not to
grass holes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Crazy.
All right. So before we get into the hunting, though, I got to ask you, because we have all these fans that said, hey, you're having Nick Hoffman on. Are you kidding me? And they all sent in questions. And to a T, most of the people had the same question they wanted to ask you.
What's that?
What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin?
My grandpa used to always say $10,000. That's what he would say. So like the fiddle player's got the fiddle, the $50 fiddle from the pawn shop, and the fancy violin player has the $10,000 violin that sounds exactly the same. That's what my grandpa used to always say. My grandpa was a violinist too, so he meant it. He's like, you have to have the expensive violin to be the violin player and the cheap violin to be the fiddle player. So, and then of course,
So in the violin industry, you'd say both ways. Oh, wow. So can you give us an example of...
Truth be told, that wasn't planned either. Like my wife and I, we were both fiddle players. There's a fiddle sitting on the counter, on the coffee table all the time.
But you guys do a lot of fiddling around.
It's kind of like the Ron Burgundy thing. Like, oh, no, I'm not prepared at all. What? Oh, hey. Yeah. Like violin players who kind of got the... You know what I mean? They're all nice and pretty, and fiddle players.
My dog just heard Now we're talking.
I'm a fiddle player. I'm not a violinist.
Wow, that's incredible. So speaking of I like that. Yeah. All right. So speaking of the music industry, you toured with Kenny Chesney for years and years. You played with Keith Urban. Anybody that's in the country, a music genre, you played with them. but you've also had a lot of solo work and with bands and things like that of your own. Like you had a couple big hits with The Farm,
Yeah.
and which you can still get those songs. I've got them loaded onto mine. You know, I listen to them all the time.
Yeah. Spotify, all that stuff, iTunes,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Two big hits actually. One was what, like all the way up in the.
Yeah, one was a two top 40 songs. One was a top 15 song. One was a top 40. We didn't get that coveted number one out of it, but we, for every kid who grows up dreaming of, having a record on the radio and all that stuff and playing on the Grand Ole Opry and doing, I mean, number one or not, that's just literally nothing short of a dream come true. And in Nashville, that's threading the needle, getting signed to Warner Brothers and having songs on the radio. That's the dream.
Dream come true.
So, yeah,
but
absolutely.
You've got a new album that's just come out, right?
Yeah, well, it's not out yet. Just finished. In fact, I literally just finished mixing it last week. It's my first solo album. So, when I moved to town, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a solo artist. I had I moved to town when I was 19 to Nashville. And so back then I was sure I was going to be Garth Brooks. Now I'm sure I won't be Garth Brooks, but I'm really excited about the solo album because it's finally come to fruition. Like all these amazing things have happened to me through my 20 years in Nashville that have kind of conspired to keep me from recording a solo album, be it playing with other artists or having this band that kind of came out of nowhere in a way, which is a whole nother long story. And finally, I've got this new solo album done. So I've been working on this album for 2 years. Really, I kind of been working on it for 20 years. There's a lot of, backstory behind these songs and all. Exactly. Been kind of ruminating on it for a long time. So I'm really excited about it. With COVID, I'm not sure if the release will happen this summer like it was originally planned, or if I'll wait till the fall or whatever so I can support it with some touring. But I'm pretty sure I'll drop a single off of it no matter what in the next probably 2 or 3 months.
Great.
So,
we're really looking forward to it because, you've done some incredible work. And
thanks.
I know you play all kinds of instruments too. You're just not a fiddle player. You're a really good guitar player. And, it's a talent. Obviously, you've got some natural ability at it to be able to do all those different things. It seems like when you meet somebody that can play a lot of different music, a lot of different instruments and that, it's something inside you. You can't sit down and just pick that stuff up.
I was really lucky because I grew up in a musical family. Like my grandparents were musicians, and my grandma's still alive. She's 97. She lives in an assisted living home in Ramsey, Minnesota, just outside of where I grew up in Nowthen, Minnesota. And she still plays every week for all the residents and plays all these old songs and still does gigs basically. And she's,
awesome.
Technically still a working musician at 97, and she's done that her whole life. And so I grew up with it. So they had jam sessions almost every weekend at their house, at the Hoffman house. My grandpa was a fiddle player and a bass player. My grandma's an old time piano player. So I have no recollection of not really playing music. They bought me a little fiddle when I was 4 years old, this little tiny itty bitty fiddle. And the old dudes that would come over that were fiddle players would teach me songs. And then I started taking some lessons after I kind of started, showing interest in it. And so I really don't have any recollection of not playing music. And so I say all that to say that, it's for you to say, boy, it's really cool. You play all these instruments and you do this and you do that. It's no different than saying to somebody that grew up hunting in a hunting family, wow, you're a hunter. Well, of course I'm a hunter. It's what I've always done. I don't know anything different is the answer. So I'm really lucky though, because my grandma always said that she was really glad that she got me playing fiddle before I discovered girls, which is really pretty true. It's I didn't know there was anything but old country music until I was 12 or 13 years old. In fact, I got in a kind of a tussle on the bus with a kid because he was making fun of me that I didn't know who New Kids on the Block was. And, and because all I knew was Merle Haggard and Roy Acuff and Charlie Daniels. I didn't know there was anything else than that till I was 12 or 13 years old. So I was really lucky that I was raised in that atmosphere, And
then once you met girls, and that's when you really started fiddling around.
Speaking of music
and hunting, This is a little present I got, being a guitar player myself. This is the kind of thing you get when, they think they can't get you anything because you've already got everything. So, the guys at Pepe Brothers, at Pepe Family's Jonas Brothers made this up for me. And, it's just a classic.
What the hell is around his waist?
That's his Elvis belt. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like the belt that the king has, and he's got his guitar, and he's got his bow tie on for formal.
Naturally, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah. So that's.
Well, you were talking about the girls and the music. That's why I started playing guitar, is because the fiddle is not cool. There's no
what?
Well, maybe it is now that I'm up there running around doing that. But back then when I was playing in fiddle contests and, there was no ooh, he plays the fiddle, I want to be with him. No. I had to learn to play guitar and sing, sweet love songs in order to impress chicks. There was no, any guy who says they learn to play guitar to not get women is a flat out liar, if you ask me.
Yeah. Fibber, liar. But that's the old days. Let's not dwell on the past. All right, let's talk about hunting. So the show's doing great. You've got some great time slots on Outdoor Channel.
Yeah.
What's happening for this year? What do you got planned for, filming?
Man, so to back up a little bit and about my history with hunting, and kind of ties into this whole thing. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. Like nobody in my family hunted. It's not that they were against it; they just didn't. But I grew up in outdoor mecca, north central Minnesota, or central Minnesota kind of, on a farm surrounded by pheasants in cornfields and deer in the woods and grouse and everything right there. And so I always felt called to that. I was always that kid that would run around in the woods and look for tracks and find rubs. And I was just interested in it. I just didn't have anybody to take me hunting. So I finally, my neighbor, Jim Zawistowski was his name. They called him Zowie. He lived across the road, the next kind of farm over or house over. And he had deer heads on his wall, and I would ask him about it. And one summer, you have to, in Minnesota, then you could, I think it's still the same way. You can't hunt till you're 12. You have to go through hunter safety hunter safety courses and stuff like that. And so I got my hunter safety, and he spent that next deer season. He didn't get deer because he took me hunting. And so that changed my life, so from that point on, it was like gung ho into hunting, and duck hunting and deer hunting and everything. So, I'm an unlikely hunter in a lot of ways, but I feel like certain people are wired to be hunters and certain people are wired to be gatherers. And even though I didn't grow up in a hunting family, I always wanted to do it. And so fast forward now, 30 years, or whatever it is, I have this hunting show, and that I would have never expected either. I'm a musician. I'm a guy who hunts on the side. I'm not a guy who focuses on the hunting for a business or for the TV show or anything like that. The way that came about was I started meeting through music, kind of quote unquote hunting celebrities that had TV shows, and they would get me on to be a guest, and I enjoyed it, and I was having fun and shooting big deer, and it was awesome, and it was fun to have it on camera. And so I started filming stuff, and I started just meeting people in the industry. And one of those people is Mark Baird, who's a storied kind of outdoor producer, has created a bunch of really popular television outdoor shows. And we were drunk at ATA one night talking about hunting shows and complaining about hunting shows, to be honest with you. And he's like, all right, smarty pants, if you think it's so bad, then what would you do? And I said, that'd be easy. I'd have an Anthony Bourdain style hunting show. And he goes, that's actually a pretty good idea, And so we filmed a pilot, and the idea was that maybe if we had this pilot, we would shop it to Outdoor Channel, and then if they picked it up, maybe we'd find another host. Maybe we get J. Allen Smith to host it. You know what I mean? And I ended up hosting it. And so now here we are filming the 6th season, and it's been a big success. And now actually the show's actually going to start airing on Outdoor Channel, and older seasons are going to start airing on Fox Sports nationally this year. So it's things just blowing up, and it's just crazy to me. So I'm sorry for the long story, but I feel like a lot of people don't know that backstory about me, that I didn't grow up as in a hunting family. This is something that I've always been called to, and even sharing my adventures is just something that has just been an interesting part of the path that I might not have expected.
Now, it's funny that you talk about that somebody else mentored you outside of family. I had the same thing. We grew up in the outdoors, and very similar story to yours, that my dad wasn't a big hunter. My mom grew up on a farm, so she'd been around it. But lots of times it takes a mentor who's outside the family to get you involved in it. And it's so important, especially nowadays with broken families and so many people living in the cities versus the outdoors, in the farming areas, that we keep doing that. And one of the organizations that's, of course, heavily involved in that is Safari Club International. Absolutely. And I know you're working very closely with SCI now on all kinds of programs with them and upcoming events. And you go to the convention every year, and, hopefully there's a convention this year. Tell us about your involvement with those guys.
Well, I mean, it's been a natural thing for me, because ironically, the way I ended up getting interested in SCI and becoming a member is one of the very biggest misnomers about SCI. I got into SCI because I went over to Africa and went on my first African safari and was just blown away and enamored and totally hooked, and just my life was, I consider my hunting career before and after I went to Africa. You know what I mean? It was such a life-changing thing. Yeah, exactly. So, and so naturally I gravitated towards the safari side of that. Like, I was like, I need to join up Safari Club International, because what I came to find, especially in my local chapter here, the Music City chapter, is it's like so much more than Safari Club International. I've always said, if I became the president of SCI, which by the way will never happen, I would change the name to Hunting Club International. You know what I mean? Because the safari, but if you look into the definition of safari, it's just a big adventure, right? So I found out that my local club is involved in conservation and restoration of quail in Tennessee. They have a huge youth program, and I've gotten really involved with the Georgia chapter too. And their youth hunting program is unbelievable. And that was the stuff that the African thing is what introduced me to it, but what made me a member and made me get involved, what had nothing to do with Africa, really. It had to do with the outreach programs locally. And then of course, the camaraderie and the friendship and the thing, I love it. And I think that in a lot of ways it's a misunderstood organization in certain ways. And I've kind of taken it upon myself to try and help change that, what I guess the
misconception of what
conception of, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also the new leadership that's involved too is so hell-bent on making sure that the people know about the millions and millions and millions of dollars that SCI spends domestically every year. I mean, because that's where the fights, obviously there's a big fight going on in Africa, but there's a lot to be done here. I mean, this Great American Outdoors Act that just passed, huge piece of legislation, unbelievable. I went and had a big shot of whiskey in celebration. Like, I'm just so excited about it. And, so
what time it is where you are, but it's 9 o'clock in the morning here. So,
hold on a second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's where'd he go? He just walked out of me. No, but he's got his guitar sitting there though, too. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. It's 1 o'clock here, but if you're doing it, I'm doing it. Cheers.
Yeah, if you don't start early, you can't do it all day.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.
Love it.
Clinky.
Clink.
Perfect.
No, so it's just been so much fun, and I love it. And I think like I said, that I'm a proud member of it. I honestly, speaking frankly, I'm a younger guy in the organization, and one of my biggest things is hey, stop. One of my biggest things is bringing younger people in and helping keep the plant the seeds for the next generation of SCI members.
Yeah.
And that's one of my big passionate things is recruiting new hunters and recruiting young people to the organization, because this organization does so much good.
It's
anyway,
incredible.
I'll get off my soapbox.
Hey, speaking of the SCI convention, who was at the SCI convention last year? Woo! That was a great night. Hey, the part I like about this photo that I just noticed this morning is, look at this lady over here who doesn't seem to care that Alan and Nick are even in the room. She's just, having a beer.
Well, the biggest reason is you see the guy with the hat, right, silhouetted like an angel back behind it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares
the man
about us.
right there?
That guy's up there.
And then the same night, look at this. Here's the lovely Miss Shelley and I. We got to go backstage, hang out with Charlie for a while after we got to see you playing with Charlie up on the stage. And I mean, I can hardly look at this picture that I don't get choked up. I mean, the loss of Charlie to the world, I mean, is unbelievable. But you get to play with him on what I think was his last concert, wasn't it?
I don't know for sure that it was his last concert, but that was, I had to have been really close to it. And of course, yeah, I mean, the guy's my hero, and I have a television show largely, because of him too. He was in the pilot. In fact, I've got a photo of it here. Hold on, let's see if I can do what you just did there. Hold on, there we go. Yeah, check this out. Like that's me and Charlie in the pilot episode of Nick's Wild Ride. So, and he was nice enough to let me interview him, and we played fiddle together in his bus, and he picked me up in his bus and all this stuff for the pilot. And that was largely a huge part of what got the attention of the network, was that, a guy like him would endorse something like what I was doing. And I just, as a fiddle player, you don't have a lot of people to look up to. It's not like guitar players have thousands of other guitar players. Like, there's only a few of us, right? So, and especially he's really one of only one or two fiddle player frontmen ever. And so that's who I looked up to. And so to get to know him, and then to find it, I never got to play on stage with him until the SCI convention. So that was a dream come true. And the man's just a patriot in so many ways, and an outdoorsman, and just a gentleman. And, he changed my life in a lot of ways, and I'm sad to lose him.
Isn't that one of the great things about going to the convention, though, is all the things that are happening, whether it's, there's bands, there's music at night, there's great speakers. Last year we had Donald Trump Jr. as the keynote speaker on Saturday night. Him and Kim were there. They were on the floor at the convention. There's all kinds of other celebrities and people. But what I like about it is you get to meet so many people that are just out there hunting, that if you're looking for a way to, I want to go on a whitetail hunt in this place, but I don't really know anybody in that state. Who can I talk to that's been there and done that? Maybe you want to book a trip to Canada or a fishing trip or whatever it is. But for me, it's always been one of those deals where that's where I go to get connected with people that can show me where to go, because they've been there and done that. There's nothing worse than, not having
reconnected too. Like, we see it's like a family reunion. We see old friends that we met in camp, or old outfitters and that we hunted with years ago that we probably would only see there. It's just it's a great way to find your next adventure, and a great way to, reconnect with old ones.
Yeah. I can't wait for this year's, and just love going to all those things. Okay. Now, before we go, we've got to do the fastest five. And these are going to be the questions that come in from the fans. Of course, when they heard you were going to be on, they just went berserko.
Let me have some beer first.
Stuff. Yeah, hold on. I'm just
a little parched.
So we got the fastest five. These are the questions that have come in from the fans, and I'm going to read them off to you one after another. No thinking. You just got to answer them, and away we go. You ready?
Yep.
Some of these can be tough. Favorite caliber?
Right now, 6.5 Creedmoor. Love it. Absolutely obsessed with it. Not afraid to admit it. If you don't like it, fine.
It's a great round. What's your go-to guitar?
Right now, it's this one. This is this little tiny travel Koa Travel Taylor. It's what they call their the Mini. It's the GS Mini.
Yeah,
I love this thing. Bring it with me everywhere. It fits in fits in like just tiny. Sounds
Awesome.
great.
Great sound to it too for being a small one.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than trying to travel with a hummingbird or something, or a, dreadnought or something like that, where it doesn't fit in anything.
I did just get another new Taylor too that is unbelievable. I'll send you a picture of it, but we can talk about that some other time.
Awesome. Yeah. Because you can't have too many guitars, apparently. Okay. What's your scariest moment on stage?
Oh, my scariest moment on stage, twofold. There's a tie. The one time where I almost crapped my pants on stage, where I was singing. I'm the singer. It's with a show at the farm, and I'm not feeling very good. And I'm up there, and I can't leave. And
hey, I'll be right back, folks.
I'm also right on the verge of shitting myself, basically. So so I ended up having to go over and whisper to Damien and Crystal, like, I gotta go. You guys gotta cover. I'll be back in a couple minutes. And it was at a fair, and I had to go find a porta potty, and everybody's wondering what the hell I'm doing. Yeah, that's probably one of my scariest moments. The other one was this concert with Chesney, where every once in a while he would turn the show into a bar band. We just play a bunch of covers and stuff like that. And he had me get up there and sing "You Never Called Me by My Name," that David Allan Coe song. Yeah. And there's a talking spot part of it in the middle where he talks about the song. And so he hands me the microphone, and we're in Green Bay at Lambeau Field, which I hate the Green Bay Packers more than I hate just about anything. I'm a Vikings fan. I'm from Minnesota. So I walk out there at the 50-yard line all bowed up, and I come out there. And this is when Brett Favre was in Minnesota, and I said, I just want you all to know I'm from Minnesota. And I was just trying to be a smart ass. Yeah. Well, I didn't realize how bad that would backfire on me. And you've never experienced true, like, kind of swelling fear until 60,000 people are booing at you really loudly. And I have these in-ear monitors, so I can't hear it quite as much. So it's all of a sudden this rumble happens, and I start to register. I look around, and everyone is just boo, boo. And there's this probably 5-year-old kid that's on his dad's shoulders, like five rows away. And this 5-year-old kid is going. And so those are my two most scared moments. And I'll both of which are different, but somehow we managed to get them back, probably with Kenny's help. You know what I mean? But but I lost. He said
he loved the Packers. Yeah, that probably helped. Yeah. I'm writing that down. Don't ever say that in Green Bay.
In Green Bay, exactly. Don't.
All right. Next question: blonde, brunette, or redhead?
I'm a hardcore Minnesota Norwegian. I gotta pick a blondie if it all comes down to it.
All right.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite?
Wife's blonde, so that's the right answer.
Good answer. You've learned. You didn't say redhead when your wife is blonde, so that lesson at Lambeau Field apparently has paid off.
Exactly.
Okay. What's your favorite animal to hunt?
Sheep. I've become obsessed with the sheep, and that I always wanted that. Like, I read Field and Stream when I was a kid, and the two white sheep were like always, I was obsessed with them, the Dall sheep and the Marco Polo. And I just, I didn't grow up. We didn't have any money growing up there. Those were unattainable things to me. And so last year I hunted my Dall sheep, and this year, actually in 3 weeks, I'm supposed to be going to Kyrgyzstan for my Marco, and that's not happening. And so that's my dream hunt, literally my absolute dream hunt. And the reason I picked Kyrgyzstan over Tajikistan, because, they're bigger, and actually there's a different slightly, the true Marcos are in Tajikistan, right? It's because I wanted that like horseback experience, that whole like, it's fermented yak milk and horses. I chose Kyrgyzstan. And I couldn't get into either one right now, but it's all just completely screwed up. So, but the sheep, like I'm actively pursuing my North American sheep slam. Like awesome. That's my dream. My hunting dream is the 4 North American sheep, and I'm halfway there. So
that's a worthwhile goal, and very few people have attained it. So good luck with that. Well, Nick, it's been awesome having you on. I mean, we get to see each other at the conventions and see in passing and watch your shows and that. And love everything that you're doing. Keep at it. It's awesome. hopefully we'll both be able to get out and travel more this year. And I hope you're going to come out and join us for a duck shoot or something this year. It's going to be a blast. We can have a little playing together. We can do some shooting together. It's going to be a good time, because if we can't go anywhere, we might as well hang out and kill some ducks, eh?
Absolutely. And, we get to get the girls together again too. We all went and saw, not too long after I met you, we went in Vegas with the girls and saw the Beatles Love Show.
That's right.
And that was unbelievable. And so Natalie has been saying she wants to get together with Shelley again. So
all right, let's do it. And we'll even play some Beatles songs for him.
Absolutely.
All right.
After a couple more of these.
See ya. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you so much.
Bye.